My name's Kat. I'm an actor and also a writer as well, and filmmaker. And I play Ruby in Driftwood, which Mark came to see in Stratford. So we started off at the RSC at Stratford upon Avon and have come to London's the Kiln Theatre. Ruby, where to begin with this one? She is, well, she lives on multitudes. I completely, love her and feel a real sense of wanting to protect her and wanting to fight for her. But she is, she's born in Alma, which is where the play is set. It's a rum shop, a gentleman's drinking club. She was born on the floor there. So downtown, Port of Spain, Trinidadian woman. She's had a hard life so far and has got by mostly on using her looks, but also on her brains and her intelligence and where she can, manipulating the men around her so that she's able to make sure that she's making money and can survive. But she has big dreams. She dreams of running Alma. She dreams of a bigger life. She loves kind of Rita Hayworth, Dorothy Dandridge, those American Hollywood golden age stars, and kind of sees herself in that. So there's this constant sense of dreaming bigger than the life that she has. But of course, the constraints of 1956, Trinidad, being a woman, mean that it's really complicated to find a way out. Then Diamond arrives, and I won't go into too much because I'm sure there will be other questions, but that's kind of a snapshot of where she is. She's fiery, she's beautiful, but she's also really vulnerable and is grappling with survival.
And then scrolling back to when you first encountered the piece, what was the big draw for you to want to play the role?
Oh, it's because she's so filled with complexities. You don't often see a part like that as an actor and just think, because it's human, by the way, to be
Yeah.
that, 1 minute you're calculating, how am I going to get out of this situation? And the next your heart's broken and you're on the floor and you're crying. And the next it's human. And I think writers often shy away from that because they think it won't seem believable or it won't seem realistic. But I read her, I just thought, oh my gosh, I can see her and I already love her. And it really was Ruby that drew me to the entire play. And then once I got into the play, I realized Martina had written something that I'd never read anything like it before and is grappling with big questions, but also humanity and family dynamics at its heart.
And then for you as an actor, obviously it's a new play. Do you approach it any differently playing a new character as opposed to playing a role that's been around previously?
Yes, I think there is a real liberation in it because nobody's done that before. I have done a new play. I did Laura Wade's The Watsons. That was my first job. So that was also a brand new play. So I'd kind of had the blueprint of how to approach a part. But I think especially with a play like this, which is so vast and so big and needing to make sure that we honor what Martina has written because so much of it's tied up in her own life experiences. And also it's period and it's Trinidad and it's 1956. So I had to do so much research, accent work and watching things and reading about the time and filling my brain and body with all of that. So I had it as the base. And then I could think, okay, but now it's Ruby and it's Ruby as a person. And I think there are quite a lot of similarities between us, actually. Sometimes that can be helpful, sometimes it isn't. So similarly to Ellen, I know she mentioned this with you as well. She had to go through a whole process of saying, no, 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 Pearl's story is not my story. And I've had to do something quite similar. Ruby is not me.
Yeah.
And as much as I feel so strongly and love her and want her to want everyone to understand her, that's also not my job as an actor. My job is just to be her and then to walk away at the end of the night and go back to being Kat. So there's been a whole process I've gone through.
Yes, and then you touched on Ellen there. Obviously, the dynamic between kind of Pearl and Ruby is a fascinating one. How did you kind of approach building that in the rehearsal room?
Yeah, I mean, thank goodness me and Ellen absolutely love each other because the relationship is so fractured and so toxic. And I look at these two women so Pearl, for everyone who hasn't seen the play, plays, she's my mother and I'm her daughter Ruby, and Pearl runs Alma, but also doesn't own it. It's owned by a white Englishman. And I dream of doing it better than her, bringing the American tourists in and making cocktails and making it this downtown Port of Spain destination. But Pearl is very much stuck in the old ways. But our relationship is also deeply fractured. I don't have a single nice word to say about her. I don't think she's ever said she loves me. And we're at war essentially in the play. But I do think because of building how we've gone to building that relationship in the rehearsal room and the conversations we've had, we both feel that the love is there, but the we are unable to find the language for it and to express it. And I won't give any spoilers, but there is a moment right at the end of the play where there is finally some sense of understanding that that love was there, but couldn't be articulated. But I find it heartbreaking. But thank goodness we go back to our dressing room at the end of that. It's just me and Ellen. We're the only gals in the play. We go back, put the world to rights, and again, shake it off for another night.
And you've kind of already touched on this a little bit, but Ruby is such a strong, kind of powerful woman in this world. What do you think her kind of motivations are for the drive to want to take over the Alma?
I think it comes from, I mean, I don't know if have this as well, but a sense of wanting more than life presents to you and feeling like you can do it. And Ruby is so intelligent. She's so intelligent and doesn't have a chance to, if she lived, I honestly think if she was in 2026, she'd be running for government or something. She has
Yeah.
these brains, but she can't use them. There's no place for them. So all she can do is use her body, and her body has been exploited her whole life from even as a little girl. So running Alma is a chance to not do that anymore and to be the boss of her own world and to create it, create the world that she wants to live in, Hollywood and aspiration. But it is also survival. It's also the only place she knows. So I don't think she's thinking about any other possibilities for what she could do. It's trapping her, but it's safety as well in some ways.
And obviously, like you say, she's drawn to this Hollywood kind of American culture and the music. Do you think that's kind of her escape from this kind of world that she's trapped in?
Yeah, I do. I definitely think so. There's something about, you know, what she goes through, and I think that taking herself somewhere else is some sort of coping mechanism. But also, she's smart and clever, and she knows that that's what's going to get the American tourists in, and she knows that then she can perform that role as well. So it's a mixture. She's seriously living a duality, is Ruby.
And obviously, the language and dialect is quite specific in the play to Trinidad. How do you approach that as an actor, kind of building that voice work?
Yeah, it's really specific, and I think it's definitely on a journey with it still, because it's Trinidadian Pekong, so it's back and forth, and you throw something at someone and they catch it and you throw it back. So we had a dialect coach on the production, Andrea Fudge, and I've also been working with an amazing coach called Simone Sofanor, who's Trinidadian and absolutely amazing. So I've worked with her, done Zooms, watched things. I listen to podcasts all the time, music, just, follow lots of different like influencers now on Instagram, Trinidadian. So just making sure that I immerse myself in that world because I'm of Jamaican heritage. So actually the accents are really different. So undoing all of my Jamaicanisms and building the Trinidadian in me. And it's also amazing to have Martina, who is Trinidadian, because you can always speak to her and make sure that you're living in that right place.
And then for you, how much before the show do you kind of put yourself into that world? Are you Ruby kind of for the half hour before you go on stage, or is it as soon as you're on stage, that's it?
That's such a good question. It depends. Some days I'm going about my life now that the show's up, we got our days back, and I realize that I'm going about my life as Ruby.
Yeah.
No, I'm carrying out. We opened in April at the RSC, so she's been in my bones for a long time now. But I'm definitely more and more consciously, de-rolling at the end of the night. So then I'm trying to get to the stage and warm up and step into her. And then, of course, once I put my costumes on, they're amazing costumes. They're so evocative. And then I'm like, okay, she's here.
And we can't not talk about the relationship with Diamond. I'm not going to say too much because, again, don't want to give too much away. But that is so complex, the kind of the worlds of those two, the clash between those two. What can you say about it without, again, saying too much, I suppose?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. What's the spoiler? Do you think? Do you think it's a spoiler?
I mean, I said it in Ellen about being the kind of son, the lost
Yeah. Okay.
son.
Great. So then it's not a spoiler to say
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So Diamond arrives, and he arrives out of the blue, delivering a crate of rum, and quickly I find out that he's my half brother. So the child that my mother Pearl abandoned, when she was young. He's an older brother of mine. And that kind of changes the entire dynamic of the play. But what's interesting is there is such a pull between Ruby and Diamond, and this idea that two people who have been abandoned and neglected and kind of beaten in different ways, beaten down their whole lives, suddenly see each other and see themselves in each other and want to love that. So it's this healing, but also completely daring to open yourself up to someone, which obviously has massive consequences. So I won't go into what those are, but I
Mm.
think it's it is a really vulnerable relationship for Ruby, and meeting him and going from this kind of fiery back and forth to letting him see her soul a little bit.
And as you say, there's kind of a dramatic climax. Again, we won't go too far into that. But how do you kind of build to that point of the emotions as a company? Kind of, it's kind of a nice first off. Kind of is a nice. It's not a nice world, but it kind of it's that world of kind of building the characters, and then obviously that last kind of 20 minutes is such high stakes, kind of fast paced. How do you kind of maintain that energy?
Yeah, I mean, because it's all in the writing, actually. That's where Martina again is so amazing, because the writing just takes you and all you can do is go with it. So we can always help ourselves by keeping the drive. There have been a couple of nights where you feel it drop and then it's a harder job to pull it back. So you have to keep the drive and then you have to just give yourself over to the writing, and it sort of spirals out of control, and you do feel that. You can feel it in the air. It's quite terrifying, this sense that none of us have control over what's happening now, and we're going where these words take us. It's all in the language, all of it.
And as you say, you're moving into the kiln now. Does the physicality of a different space change the energy at all?
Yeah, I mean, the stage is quite similar, which is great, and the space is quite similar. It's a bit bigger, but the audience is already, because we've only had a few shows there so far, the audience is already a really different. So even that, you kind of get used to, not that every audience was is the same, they never are, but I got used to how it all worked. And now we're dealing with just different people. It's much more diverse, much younger at times as well. And so grappling with that, and that is exciting because it's unknown, but also, the space is new, that we've had to sort of re-tech the show, just exits, entrances, all of that kind of, that sort of thing, mechanical things that you've stopped thinking about when you get into a run. You're suddenly thinking, oh yeah, I'm now, exiting downstage instead or whatever. So I think I've just about got it all into my muscle memory now, and I'm excited for the rest of the run. And also, I've had so many people, like friends and family, that didn't make it to Stratford now coming in, because it's a bit easier for people to get to London. So that's also really nice as well.
And obviously, the set design is beautiful. The whole design of the show is really beautiful. I mean, obviously, your costumes are great. But if you could steal a prop or piece of costume, which would you take?
It has to be Seldom's baton. His
Yeah.
truncheon has to be. I mean, come on. I would take that with me. Take it around the world.
Yes. And then I'm going to ask some fun questions now, lighten the mood. Obviously, music is a big part of Ruby's world. What are the kind of tracks that you would go on to kind of get into her head?
Yeah, I have a whole playlist. So it's a lot of Rita Hayworth, lots of Rita Hayworth. That kind of starts me off. Then our amazing composer, Chris Seller, really introduced me to the spirits and the orishas, because there's a lot of that that's present in Trinidad. So I listened to an amazing Trinidad calypsonian called Ella Andor. She's massive. And so there's sort of chants to Oshun. I listened to all of those at the start as well. And then I listened to also just modern soca music, the music that I'd be listening to this summer when I'm getting ready for carnival, that especially at the start, because as Ruby starts to play, she's dancing and I need that kind of energy in me. And then sometimes I have some really strange songs that I listen to in the interval. I even started listening to Breakaway by Kelly Clarkson the other day, because it's
Yeah.
actually quite fitting. I thought this is not where we are, but it's mood. It's kind of what's happening. I'm thinking about leaving. So yeah, music's really important, but it's a lot of kind of Hollywood. Yeah, Doris Day, Dorothy Dandridge, Rita Hayworth.
And if Ruby had a Spotify playlist, who do you think her top artists would be on that list?
I think it's Rita Hayworth.
Yeah,
Yeah,
strong.
yeah.
And then for Kat, if you were to travel back to 1950s, how do you think you would cope in that world?
I don't think I'd survive very long. I've got too much to say and I've got too much I want to do with my life. I mean, I would love I'd love what I'd be wearing. That kind of entering into that old world I love. But the gender dynamics and the racism and the scope for movement. I'm quite restless. I think a lot of creatives are, and just not being able to move and see the world and grow, I think might
Yeah.
frustrate me quite quickly. But then there'd be a freedom, no mobile phones. That'll be a dream. No one's asking you to be at their beck and call all the time. There's something really liberating about that, I think.
Yes. And then, as
Yeah.
you say, as creative, you have done such a varied kind of career already. Like the things you've done already, incredible. Like the
Thank you.
variety, kind of. How do you kind of reflect on the journey to where you are right now?
That's such a nice question. It's so nice because actually the point is often you don't, you're always on to the next thing. And I think it is important to reflect. And yeah, if I stop and think about where I am now, having made films and published a book and now doing so much, work in the acting space and doing this play at this time, 2026, set in 1956, first Trinidadian play at the RSC, that feels, yeah, a real moment, something to reflect on and think, okay, this is work that I am proud to be a part of and hopefully will make some changes and encourage people to see the world a bit differently.
And obviously, can't talk to you without mentioning your book, This Thread of Gold. What kind of first inspired you to want to write that, and how do you again reflect on the acclaim it's had?
Yeah, I mean, it's been in me all my life. It's been, women that I have come across, discovered, and just thought, this is so amazing. So it's kind of weaving all of these different stories of incredible Black women from throughout history to the present day, weaving them all together. And then it ended up being weaving my own sort of memoir. It can't be memoir at my age, but weaving that in with it. And then, yeah, it won this big award in Washington, D.C., the Zora Award, which is named after Zora Neale Hurston. So that it just goes to show that you have an idea, you have something inside you, and I think a lot of us talk ourselves out of it, but no, it's your voice is worth being heard, and I think I'm proud of that because I know what it's meant to a lot of people. There are people who will talk to me about how that book has changed their life and encourage them to love themselves or to, be inspired to pass it on to their children. And that's kind of all you can hope for, I think.
And then, what does success look for you like now, kind of so far into your career now? How do you, is it different to when you were first starting?
Yes, I think now I am reflecting on I don't have to say yes to everything now. I
Yeah.
I have the luxury of being able to be well, luxury, but it is also, I think, an important decision for the self to choose how to spend your time and what you're going to put your heart and soul into. So I think that's different. Whereas at first, you think, oh my goodness, well, every opportunity is a yes. And I still have that in me, but a bit differently. But I also think I care more about what it says about how I see the world. And I'm always looking for things that can take us forward, you know, joy, hope, changing narratives, breaking chains, all of that. And working with nice people, that's also so important. I want to
Yes.
have some fun. I don't want to be working with people that, don't make you feel good. That life's too short for that.
And then scrolling back, what was the kind of first piece of theatre that you saw that had that big impact on you?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's so funny. I was speaking the other day because in Stratford there was this sort of classic car festival that sort of thing happens all the time. There's 3-day festival, and they had the Noddy car, and Ellen was saying, "Oh my gosh, I used to love Noddy on TV." And I remembered my dad telling me a story, and I asked him to verify because I wasn't sure. But the very first play I ever went to see, age 3, was Noddy, and I was so excited, so excited. And my dad took me first theatre. I think it was at the Leicester Curve actually,
Right.
'cause I'm from Northampton, from the Midlands, and we sat down, and I was bouncing up and down on my seat, and then the lights went dark, and my lip trembled, and I just looked at him and said, "I didn't really want to come and see Noddy with you." But then he said, "Don't worry." And then I sat on his lap and watched play, and I absolutely loved it. And then from then I was already hooked. So then I used to write plays and force my family to sit down and watch them. And then, but I think the one thing that I really think of when I think of like a work that changed me was Nine Nights, which I first saw at Trafalgar Studios maybe 5 years ago or something, and I watched it, and it was the first play that I thought I need to take my mum to come and see this. She's not a theatre person at all, and I just knew that she would laugh but also feel seen. And I took her, and I remember sitting there and looking at her just out the corner of my eye as the play was happening and seeing her face. And she's not the most, necessarily the most expressive person, but seeing her feeling that just got me so excited about the power of theatre to help people feel seen and they can laugh at themselves, but also cry in recognition. That is an amazing thing.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree. And then simply, why do you think Driftwood is a perfect play for a 2026 audience right now?
I mean, you just have to look at what's going on in the world. It was so crazy as well. Like the week we opened in Stratford and we're talking about Venezuela, and it's happening. It was happening right then with Trump, and you just think that Martina has been writing this for 20 years, and it's set, in 56, and it's still just as relevant. But also questions of belonging and identity and who has the right to what and all of that is all still in us, and we haven't found the answers. The political structure and what's going on in Trinidad right now, even that, we're seeing news of this really far right government and all of these different things. It's kind of scarily relevant, which again I think is testament to her writing. But also I think questions of what, on a personal level, what are you carrying that isn't yours? What can you leave behind? How can you choose to live differently? That will always be vital. We should always be asking that of ourselves.
Well, Kat, I think you're an incredible person. This play is so important. Everyone should go and see Driftwood at the Kiln until the 4th of July.
Thank you, Mark. Right back at you. So nice to speak with you.